Alrighty, everybody, welcome into the Money Stop. Happy Money Stop Monday. Um, we've got a lot to discuss tonight, as per usual. Um, I'm glad that we could at least have an episode on Monday this week. I know the last couple weeks have been a little off, but we've got a lot to talk about tonight in terms of this past weekend's action in Disney World and looking ahead to the next weekend here coming up. Um, Let me see. Let me take a look here. Um, got some people joining in, so I'll give a second while I bring up just where we're going to start off. But okay, well, let's talk about Disney. Um, there was a lot that happened over the course of the two races this past weekend. Um, from the truck race to the cup race. The two winners over the weekend were Laner. You won the truck race, and
Mhm.
Jax won his first race of the season, which is pretty exciting. But also another name that's added now to the list of first time winners. So it's gonna be interesting to see how this all shakes out. Kind of. Um, I would say no big name has really won yet, which is like the most surprising thing to me. So I don't know who will be the first one to check off that box, but um, it's certainly coming soon because we are running out of room on that top seven list. So we will have to see. But Laner, just give me some of your initial thoughts, I guess, on the race this past weekend. You won the truck race, so you can kind of offer your thoughts with that, and how you kind of saw the race play out, and what changes you made based off of the truck race into the cup race.
Uh, Honestly, I really didn't make any changes based off the truck race. Um, the trucks really handle so much differently. They have a lot more grip and they're a lot more easy to control than the cup cars. Uh, but once we got out there on Saturday, it was just, as I predicted, really hard to make passes. You were really just having to put yourself in vulnerable spots, and really the only way you could make passes was if somebody kind of messed up a corner and they went high. If you got up on the outside, you were done. I mean, you were going to get the whole line was going to pass you. Um, but I feel like we had a good race on Saturday. We didn't get points in stage two to show for it, and we didn't really get a good finish. But I thought we were in contention all day to win the race. Just didn't really play out that way. But from our team's perspective, I think this was the most competitive that we've been all year. We didn't lead a lap at all to really show for it, but I felt like we were in contention all day. So it's a bummer that it didn't work out that way. But I don't even know. Like, me and Land were running one and two with less than 10 laps to go. Land was leading and I was in second. I don't. Somebody got into the back of me and I got spun around. I don't even know. It wasn't intentional, so like I don't even remember who did it. But at the end of the day, I got spun out and I got sent to the back. So at that point, it was just same thing happened in stage two. I was going to get stage points and I got spun out towards the front. So just one of those days where we don't really have much to show for it. So it's a bummer.
Yeah, it is. It really is a bummer. There was just a lot going on. I feel like during the race. I watched the stream, and man, oh man, there was just a lot of passes. And you know, kind of there was a couple wrecks at points where you just didn't really expect them to happen. But I mean, it was still an interesting race out of all of it. Let's talk about the cup race. There was a huge penalty handed out on the final lap, um, and it involved Fadio. where he made a last lap pass in the grass um, with all four tires down there, and it resulted in him getting no points for the race, I believe. Um, well, at least his finishing position, he got a last place finish. But um, now looking back on it, do you still agree with the assessment of this penalty, or do you think you should have acted differently in the moment, or like how did you guys come down to that decision about the penalty?
I was kind of up in the air about the penalty the whole time personally, uh, because he got okay. So if he would have won the race doing that, yeah, like I get it, but he didn't win the race and he got involved in a wreck. Um, and he already finished sixth after getting involved in that wreck. Um, so I don't know. I was kind of like, the damage had already been done. But if you look at the whole last lap, um, he did have some contact with land um, coming into the final turn, and Land got spun out from the lead because of that and lost all of his track position. And then after Land gets spun out, um, obviously, what we felt like was four tires in the grass trying to gain a position on Jax. Just those two things put together was enough to warrant a penalty. Um, and I don't really feel like the penalty was really that severe, if I'm being honest, because he finished sixth in the race, and you give him a last place finish. That's only a loss of 3 points. So I feel like the penalty could have been a lot more severe. Um, but I don't know. That's just me. I still agree with the decision that was made.
Yeah, I don't know. It's tough for me as somebody who was watching, the race from a stream because to me, like I understand why you guys could have given him a penalty, but I think on the other side of it too, like he did get spun out, so he lost all of his
Yeah,
track position from, trying to make up some time or some kind of he was trying to make an in ground on, making up some time on the last lap there, but I think, when he got spun, it kind of just like dwindled all of that away. So
yeah,
if he didn't get spun and he did finish like as close as he did, then I would have understood the penalty. But I like me personally, I don't think that there should have been a penalty, at least like that severe. Just because he was already finishing in the back anyway. And he got spun out of doing that, out of making that move. So it didn't work out either way for him. But I mean, you know, the penalty is what it is, and it
yeah.
sucks. But I think that um, just here on out, I think other drivers should be kind of careful and courteous about the decisions that they make towards the end of these races, and how that could kind of affect where they finish.
Yeah, and I kind of had the same opinion as you, where he already was towards the back, and that's why I was really on the fence about giving him a penalty. But we have a board for stuff like this, so I mean, obviously, whenever everybody has to be in agreement on things, and a majority needs to be met whenever we're talking about penalties. So we have a lot of different opinions whenever we discuss things on the board. And at the end of the day, whatever the majority of people agree with is what is going to happen. Um, so, uh, yeah, a majority of people felt that way, and that's what happened. Uh, Although I kind of share the same sentiment as you. I was kind of on the fence. I was like, 50-50 about it. I could see it going either way, but um, it's good that we have a board for stuff like this because you have a lot of different opinions and a lot of different people giving suggestions and a lot of different perspectives on things. So if a majority of people feel one way, um, then that's just what happens.
Yeah. Also, I'm kind of keeping an eye on the chat. Um, Sorry if the volume switched around for some of you guys this week. Um, Usually, I know you could either hear me or Lane or more than one other person. I'm not really sure what's up with that. I don't tamper with the volume or really change anything week to week, so it's kind of weird that it does that. But nonetheless, I apologize if you guys are having some problems hearing. Um, you know, not intentional, obviously, just not sure how to really fix that. Also, I don't really have that much energy this week, so I may not be like enthusiastic about this stuff that we're talking about. It's just been a very long week for me. And it's going to be another long week. So just try to bear with us through the hour and try and make best of what we can out of it. Um, but let's move on. Go to the next thing here on the list. So it seemed like, just from the grasp of everything, that this was at least one of the more not controversial races of the season. And you know, we're in now week 5, kind of, I think. Yeah, I think we're in week 5, and it this past weekend was definitely not as controversial, I would say, as some of the other races have been. Maybe every other race has been. There was certainly a chance that it could have been controversial because Disney is kind of a fantasy track. It's not somewhere we go often, and really, we only run there once a season now. So, like these other tracks most of the time. So, uh, people are not laying laps down there as much. So, it could have easily been, um, a joke of a race, but it wasn't, thankfully. So, kind of just giving a shout out to the drivers for sticking through all the way and um, managed to put on a pretty good show. I don't know how you would characterize it later, but I would say it was a pretty
Y-
good show.
Yeah, actually I thought this was the least controversial race we've had all year. And I was really proud of everybody for the way the race went. I didn't can't really think of normally after these races we have at least one thing that happened that's like, well, I guess yeah, you could say the final lap was controversial, but I mean, I feel like that's pretty subjective too because I don't know. I mean,
I feel like
I don't know. That
just because
like
it had a final lap that was controversial doesn't make the entire race
and
controversial. Like there was
also it
there was moments in Auto Club where we had a lot of controversial moments, which I think made the race controversial. You know what I mean?
yeah, and also I don't really think it was controversial because like to me controversial is like somebody getting wrecked for the win or like race tampering or like, like somebody making a pass on the grass and getting penalized for it isn't really controversial to me. Um I don't know. I obviously not everyone's going to agree with that, but just because a penalty was assessed does not make a race controversial because NASCAR has 36 races a year and they assess at least one penalty after every single race. So that doesn't make every single race controversial. That's just part of racing. So yeah, I really have a lot of respect for everybody for the way we raced each other. Didn't notice any dirty driving. I thought there was a lot of respect for each other. From what I saw personally, not everyone has to agree with this. Everyone's going to have a different point of view, but I really enjoyed it a lot.
Yeah, um, I agree. It's hard. Um, it's a hard take because a lot of people have different views in terms of just what they consider a controversial race, but I think at the end of the day, it's like, you know, this goes back to what we talked about in the beginning of the season about, you know, what people would be willing to do for a win. in this series. And we're seeing it because these last 4 weeks we've had different winners. And you know whether these guys that are above the cut line and do not have a win get in or not, they'll be in pretty good shape. But these guys that have wins, we don't ever really see win maybe, this early in the season. Usually it takes the season to bloom as a driver, but um it's been really, really surprising for me to watch this all unfold this early. And I'm enjoying it. I think it's thrown a little bit of a curveball into this season, and really like is making guys like Land and Kragus and Lego and you to really try and figure out different ways to be more up there towards the end. Different situations have taken you guys out of it, but that's just the way that these races have played out, unfortunately. You know, again, goes back to what are you willing to really do to win? Um, okay. Going back to Land for a second. Um, he was taken out on the final lap. Um, again, basically this weekend. And was taken out of contention. I'm not sure where he finished later.
Who?
Land.
Land dead last. He was
Yeah.
leading coming to the final turn. And that's kind of why I said the board looked at um, the whole last lap as a whole when assessing that penalty. Um, I don't think the move Fadio made was dirty or intentional or negligent by any means. But if you watch the replay, he definitely shoved himself into a hole that was gonna be it was gonna be hard to make that move work. Um, and he just tried to force it in there. I get it, you're racing for the win, but that move spun Land out from the lead, and Land ended up finishing last. And then after that is whenever the last turn incident happened. So, yeah, that's what I was saying. Like the board looked at the whole last lap before assessing that penalty that we gave out.
Yeah, thank God it's not 9 o'clock yet, because I could have went a million different ways with what you just said, um, with the terms that you used. But anyways, um, yeah,
30 more minutes.
it's tough. It's really, really tough because this dude's been really fast these last couple weeks, and it just like it seems like there's really nothing to show for it at the end of it. But I hope that doesn't discourage, the team, because, the fact that they're up there, from the start of the race till the end, um, it does say something. And they're still earning a good amount of points every week. So I don't think, that there's really any need for them to be worried, like hitting the panic button to win. Because they've definitely been consistent. It's just those situations where they've come up short in the end. But it really sucks because this guy's super fast, and he's obviously a three-time champion. So you know, victory lane will not keep him out for too long. But um, it's just one of those cases where I guess it's been one of those seasons for him where you know the cards don't play right. They don't play into the right hands. So I don't really know. Um, I don't know. Can people see that we're in the studio right now? Because
The screen is black.
yeah.
Technical
Okay.
difficulties.
This is weird. Oh,
Yeah, someone turned off the lights. Maybe the electricity went out or something.
yeah. Um.
Oh, there we go. We're back
Okay.
on.
All right. That was weird. I don't know what happened. Sorry about that, guys. anyways, what was I saying? Um, yeah, about land. I'm sure that they're going to find victory lane here, pretty soon. Um, but it, you know, it's all gonna come down to just sticking it out at the end, and making sure that they can not get spun out. But also I will say too, like I hope land doesn't, um, crash out because of this. I know he's probably losing his mind internally, just trying to find stuff to do to not end up in those situations. But you know, he's giving it his all every week, and he's trying his best, and that's all he can do. Um, but it certainly sucks that things are not playing out as they should for that team. But
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't really noticed anything abnormal from him or his team. I think they've been through this so many times. I think it would be really hard for them to get discouraged. Um, I mean, Land knows how these races go, and he knows how the seasons go. Um, I think he knows he still has a great shot to win the championship. So
mhm,
um, I think he out of anybody would be the one to keep it level headed and focus on the big picture.
yeah, yeah, I certainly agree. Um, and there's still a couple tracks coming up where you know he definitely has a good shot to win. Talk about Darlington. He won his second championship there. And
Yep.
he's been good in Milwaukee. He was close to first race there. Um, and I think he won just by a sliver, but um, you know, that track's been good for him. Kentucky, just the circumstances of the race last season. I couldn't tell like who was really fast. And it was just that race, it was kind of easy to forget. So not really thinking too much about that race, but there's a couple good tracks coming up that I feel good about for him, and obviously Texas too is a good one.
Texas, yeah.
And he literally just won the championship there not too long ago.
Yeah,
So
he's won at 3 of the next 4 tracks, so
hmm
I mean, yeah, he's more than capable. And
yeah,
Kentucky, we've only raced there once, so
yeah,
definitely more than capable.
yeah. They're gonna definitely have to work on finding different ways to stay up front at the end of these races though, because clearly leading on the final lap is not where you want to be. I think he's learned that now. And whether he takes that into consideration and changes his kind of stance next race, if we show up to um, Darlington this weekend and you know he decides to run second on the final lap, I feel like he has more of a fighting chance. He's not the sitting duck, but um, yeah, I think they're definitely gonna have to try something different these next few weeks.
Yeah, you're kind of damned if you do, damned if you don't.
hmm
Running up front. I mean, you want to be leading on the last lap, but you also don't want to be leading. Um, so you're screwed either way. But yeah, Landa's still only like 3 points out of the regular season championship. So he's still in contention for the regular season title. I'm sure we'll get to points later, but there's still about uh, 3 drivers that have a realistic shot, or I'd say maybe 4. About 4 drivers that have a realistic shot at winning the regular season championship.
Yeah, and that'll be interesting to see too how that plays out because there's still plenty of time for these drivers to win that haven't won yet. And I also wonder too, like who's going to be the first repeat winner because um, now that we've had a 4 for 4 kind of season so far, I wonder if we'll go 5 for 5 or if there will be a repeat winner. Um,
If I had to bet on that, I would say we go 5 for 5.
okay.
I just think we have too many fast drivers that have not won yet.
Yeah, that is
But I
true.
could also see a repeat winner too. I think the drivers that have not won, their intensity level is going to outmatch the ones who have won by a lot. Um,
Right.
like if you have a driver that's already won a race, leading, and there's a driver that has not won behind them, like you can already know how that's going to go.
Mm-hmm.
The driver who's won a race, they're going to get punted. Like you can already see it. So the drivers who have won a race are definitely at a disadvantage because I don't think they're going to be given any room. I guess I don't really know a nice way to say it, but like I don't think they're going to be raced very nicely if they're up front and a win's on the line.
Well, they won't be raced. I think they'll be raced nicely. They just won't be
They'll be
raced
raced.
the
Yeah, they'll
same.
be raced
You know.
nicely, but they won't be raced like normally. Maybe if there's somebody in front of you that you wouldn't normally like put the bumper to them in a normal situation, but you know that they have a win and you don't, you're probably gonna force the issue a little bit.
Yeah. Um. Just for time's sake, I do want to move on, but really good conversation. I think. Um. i- it's very tough, but we can chat a little bit more about it when we get to the preview point of the show, and we can dabble a little bit with the points too. But I want to move on to this because this has kind of been the topic of the week. Um, so shortly after the race on Saturday night, the Catamount Racing team put a statement out, and they announced that they are leaving ROCAR. The team is ceasing operations in the league. And I'll read through the entire thing and provide some updates kind of after, because there is kind of a little bit of an update after that. So obviously we'll get into that and we'll discuss it a little bit, but the statement reads as follows. So, effective 12/7, Catamount Racing will no longer be continuing to compete within ROCAR. This is a decision that has been a while in the making. However, it does not come lightly. It seems every week that there is a new piece of drama and another fight to watch. Everyone is at each other's throats almost constantly, and it's not an environment our drivers enjoy participating in. This is a Lego game and shouldn't be treated as serious as it is. A majority of us are adults and oftentimes don't even act like it. This can be a fun league. We enjoy the competition and are not downplaying the success our team has had. However, we are not going to stay in a league within a league that continually preaches about ending toxicity. However, does nothing about it internally. We apologize to Laner and Icy for putting this publicly on blast. However, it's a problem that reoccurs every week, and we are plain and simple done. We wish everyone who's sticking around good luck in the league and hoping they prosper in the future. Our creation was a short time ago, but in the short time we were a successful team with multiple wins, poles, and more do not go without mention, and we are proud of what we have accomplished in the time we've had within this league. And then they left a quote at the bottom that just says it's just an empty cup. Okay, so a lot to unpack there, but um, there was an update as of today, and upon discussing internally, Wendigo and Bip will finish out the remainder of the season, but uh, Catamount as a team will cease operations beyond that point, and they will become free agents. So I just want to remind everybody too that they have wins, so they are locked in. Fadio is the only driver that was not locked in and is no longer a part of the team. And he has since left the league based off of the incident that took place at the end of the race on Saturday. And um, I think it's an interesting time for something like this to happen, just because Bip and Wendigo are locked in, and uh, despite the frustrations within the team, they still had a chance to fight for a championship, and chose to cease operations as a team because of something more than that. And it's I'm sure it takes a lot because you're in a tough spot where you have two out of your three drivers locked in, and they're you know they're in the mindset already that they're going into the playoffs, and they're focusing forward past the regular season already. So I think it's definitely an interesting move, but I'm glad to see that they'll be continuing, to the end of the season. I think they definitely made the right move with that. Now that we're already a portion of the way into the season, it'll be over kind of before you know it. These seasons fly by much faster now, than they used to, and they are a lot shorter now. So, um, you know, they made the right choice staying in the game, especially being already locked in. They're guaranteed a spot, but certainly a shock, um, uh, this early in the season still. Later, I don't know if
Yeah,
you had any thoughts. Sorry, go ahead.
yeah. I I mean, it definitely caught me off guard whenever I heard about it, but I don't know. I You never know like what's going on behind closed doors, I guess, and like what type of things people are going through like outside of Roblox. So I always do try to like, you know, I try to not judge people like right away about stuff like that.
Hmm.
And I try to remind myself like I had a similar incident last season at Las Vegas, where I literally retired and then I came back like the next day. So I understand like this type of racing can be really overwhelming sometimes. Um, and sometimes you just need a break.
Hmm.
And your emotions can get the best of you. That's just human nature. So I have no hard feelings with any of them, and I really do wish Fadio the best. He was really fast, and he was a pleasant guy to talk to. Like I really enjoyed getting to know him, and it sucks that he won't be in the league anymore. I thought he had a legitimate shot at a championship, but obviously that's the decision that he felt was best for him, and that Catamount felt was best for their team. So yeah, I mean, just happy to have Bip and Wendigo back, and it's unfortunate to see Fadio's career end that way.
Yeah, it is. It is very unfortunate because the craziest part is in every start that Fadio made, he was in contention the entire race, and he raced people very respectfully. That's what I meant to say. Respectfully, and just a very class act kind of guy. Like you could tell, he was just very much of a class act, and very very relaxed guy on the racetrack. I don't think he really was one of the drivers that has let his emotions get the best of him during the race. And I respect that a lot about him. It's very unfortunate that he won't be coming back, but maybe he'll reconsider down the line and try and rejoin, next season or what. But it certainly sucks all around. Especially too when you're losing a team out of it. Because originally Catamount was leaving altogether, but now they're coming back, but they are leaving at the end of the season. So that is one less team that people are going to be working with, I guess, next season. Which sucks because this league, you never want to see a team go away. But yeah, the whole situation is very tough. But I will be interested to see, how Wendigo and Bip kind of refocus from here on out, as now being a two-car team. And Something I do want to note out of it too is that there has been some changes within the truck series too. Um, as of I guess Saturday, there's been a couple changes from the movements. SSR agreed to a deal with Parker, and he is piloting the number two um, Ford Mustang full time. And also, Benji is moving from the trucks, I believe, to the Cup Series as well. And he is moving to the 13. So there's a lot of movements within, I guess, the truck series. But Laner, what are your thoughts on that? You put together that deal.
Uh, yeah, I mean, whenever we heard the news that we were going to have 3 drivers leaving, um, obviously from a league owner perspective, my first thought was, okay, we need to get more people in the Cup Series to increase the roster. So we called Parker up into Cup for SSR. And then Aiden's team signed Benji, so that would have gotten us back to 9 drivers, I believe. I think it was going to be 9 or 8 or something like that. Now that they're coming back, we kind of have an overpopulated roster, but that's also why we made the charter announcement earlier today that the top 8 drivers in points will be locked into every race. And then that final 9th spot will kind of be like an open car spot for the part-time drivers plus Benji and Parker. So the the normal guys or the top 8 in points will all be locked in, but that final spot will kind of be whoever can qualify in out of the rest of the people.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not sure. Sorry, there's a little bit of noise behind me, but um it's certainly an interesting um kind of ordeal, like how this has all played out in the last few days. Because again, it's only Monday and this has all happened between Saturday and today. So, there's certainly been a lot going on, I think. Um but yeah, I want you to explain the charter decision a little more because, you know, usually this is something that I feel like you should make or would make, I guess, in the beginning of the season. Not when we're a couple races in. So, um, was there a thought like in the beginning of the season to do that, or did you think you wouldn't have to until like you got to a point like this?
Um, Honestly, we didn't really discuss it much at the beginning of the year. Um, but we also didn't really expect to have this much demand. Um, and now we have 8 people who attend almost every single race. Plus, we just added 2 more full-time drivers into the Cup Series and part-time drivers on top of that. Because if you look at the list for this weekend, you have the 8 charter drivers plus Wegner, who's going to try to qualify in a part-time car, plus Benji and Parker.
Mm-hmm.
So, if hypothetically, if we didn't have the charters, you could see somebody like me or Wendigo or Land miss the race over Wegner or Benji or Parker. And that's not to take anything away from Benji, Wegner, or Parker, but those 3 are not fighting for a playoff spot. And nothing that they do in the race is going to really matter to them. Whereas if me or Land or Lego or insert name here misses the race, that's going to have huge implications on us with only 4 races left in the regular season. So, with such a short regular season, we just felt like this is what was best because we're really starting to get down to crunch time. So, what's going to happen is until the playoffs, those 8 drivers will have spots locked in. And then once we get into the playoffs, we'll have 7 playoff drivers, so then we will have 2 spots open up, and then those 2 spots will just be open spots for part-time drivers or cup drivers or whatever, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes sense. I wonder, and I don't want to kind of get off topic here because we do have to move on, but I wonder if it kind of opens the door for the truck series just going away,
Yeah.
and there being one series because, that kind of move takes 2 drivers out of the truck series. So now there's 3 full-time drivers, and only one driver has one and locked themselves in. So I even wonder if there's a need for the truck series anymore. Because if we're having this qualifying into the race format, I don't think it's necessary to have a lower series, because there's not too many other drivers where you can sustain a second series. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah, and I haven't had any internal discussions with Lego since he runs the truck series about this, but my thinking was that Benji and Parker would still run full time in trucks, just because they kind of got thrown into Cup, um, not in the most ideal way. Not to take anything away from those two, I don't think it wasn't the most ideal way to get thrown into the Cup Series. Normally, you would have more preparation, and you would be, but yeah, I think those two should still probably be, in my opinion, I think they should still be allowed to run full time in trucks because they still need more experience racing. So I think it would really benefit them to run full time in trucks and make cup starts whenever they are able to qualify in. And it's still going to be an uphill climb for those two to even qualify into a cup race because you have 2 people qualifying for one spot. So there's going to be weeks where Benji and Parker might not even make it in to a cup race. So I still think it would be in their best interest to run trucks as well.
oh yeah, I agree. My only thing though is that the trucks and the cup cars run very differently.
Yeah, they do.
They just the way they handle, the way they race, they're very different in their own respect. So if they're going to focus on trucks, then I don't know why they're doing cup too. But um, yeah, like you said though, I get it. It was like kind of like an in the moment kind of deal. Um, and things are what they are now, but it's just something I was thinking about. Kind of the days leading up to now. But um, for time's sake, let's try and move on, because we got a couple other things to talk about. Let's see. Um, One thing we we won't really like touch on, but we'll mention is that GFM is switching back to Toyota, from the closure announcement of Catamount. GFM is now switching back, and the team is switching back to their old numbers basically. Land is going back to the 20. Um, Let me see what the numbers are for sure, but um, uh, I know Land is going back to the 20, and I know that they're making some changes. I think the 54 is coming back, and I'm not sure about the other number. Somebody will correct me in a second, but um, I saw the announcement somewhere at least. But um, that is also happening as well. So starting this weekend, we will see all 3 cars running Toyotas instead of Chevrolets. But um, yeah, I don't know. What do you think about this move?
Uh, well, I'm kind of the one that catapulted the move, I guess. Because whenever Catamount left, we didn't have any Toyotas at that point. So I wanted GFM to switch to Toyota, and then Aiden's team would remain Chevy, just so we had all three manufacturers present in the Cup Series. Obviously now Catamount is back, so we're gonna have like 5 Toyotas, 2 Chevys, and 3 Fords. So I mean, it's it's all right. We would have either had a lot of Chevys or a lot of Toyotas either way, so it
Yeah.
doesn't really make a difference to me.
Yeah. I'll be interested to see, if that changes anything um this weekend, starting this
Well,
weekend. But
last season Craig has had a really bad start to the year, and then he changed numbers, and then he went on a winning streak. So
true.
I
That
don't
is
know.
true. Yeah, that is very true. I did forget about that. Um, and they're going to Darlington this weekend, which I think he's been pretty good at. So, um,
Yeah.
it'll be interesting to see. But
Yeah, I don't know if we're gonna get into the points, but if Craigus has another bad race this weekend, I would be hitting the panic button like hardcore.
yeah,
Because it's been a really good track for him. So, like 4 bad races, like you can kind of be all right. But if he has another bad race, that's whenever I would really start to hit the panic button.
agreed. I fully agree. We are going to get into the points actually right now. Um, so let's pull them up on the screen. So here are your week 4 points after the race in Walt Disney World Speedway. Um, gonna try and go through it as best as I can in order, but obviously you see the top 4 drivers there that are locked in, and that is based off of their playoff points. So if you look on the right, or no, actually it's not. I'm not sure what way this is sorted in, but um, they are sorted kind of
Oh,
out of
so
order. But
yeah, yeah, they are.
no, it's okay. I think it would be Wendigo, Jax, and then Bip and Aiden. But
Yes.
anyways, let me try and go in order here. This is for the regular season championship, so um, just keep that in mind as I go through it. But uh, the points start off with Wendigo in the points lead, um, just by a couple points. And in second, hold on, I'm just gonna pull them up so I have them closer on my screen. So in second, we have Land by 3 points. And then tied for third is Laner and Fadio at 112. Obviously, Fadio is not included in this battle anymore, so Laner will take the third spot. And then in the fourth spot would be Lego at 111. And then Jax is fifth, I believe, at 103. Uh, where am I now? Okay. And then Bip is sixth at 96. Aiden is seventh at 95. And Craigus is eighth, I guess, or just
Yeah.
he's last technically. With Fadio moving down in the points next week, that should help him. Um, so I think that's something to watch as well. He'll definitely pick up some points. They're only 20 points apart, so that's pretty obtainable. But uh, a lot to unpack here. Obviously, like we talked about, those top 4 drivers are all locked in with a win, and pretty consistent in terms of their top fives, except for Bip. But he's tied for the most stage wins, and he has the most playoff points. So definitely been consistent with that team. Um, but really, those top 4 drivers have been very consistent with earning points and trying to stay up there. Um, Also, as well as you and Land have been really good too, as well as Craigus, or as well as Lego, and Craigus is slowly creeping into that point, but it's been mainly those guys. But what are your thoughts on the points this week?
So something that jumped out to me just now is Bip and Aiden really haven't had good seasons. If you look at the points, but their saving grace is that they have a win. Like if you look at them compared to Craigus, like we keep talking about how Craigus has had a pretty bad year, but we don't talk about that with Bip and Aiden because they're locked in. Um, but I mean, just look at how close Craigus is in points to Bip and Aiden. I mean, like that's he could make those points up in one stage. Um, but the difference is that he doesn't have a win. So, like, I guess my point in saying that is that although, like, I know Craigus gets down on himself for having a bad year, but all it takes is one win, and you're right back in it. Um, because if Bip and Aiden didn't have a win right now, they would be clawing and fighting their way into the playoffs just like Craigus is. Um, so all you have to do in this format is win a race, and all your troubles go away. Really. And other than Craigus, so he is 20 points out. Because if you take Fadio out of the equation, Lego moves up above the cut line, and Craigus is in the 8th spot now. So he's 20 points out from Lego, which I think is very manageable in 4 races. But Craigus would really need to have a good 4-race stretch because Lego has been running really well this season. But it's not impossible. It's definitely doable. But those are the two things that jump out to me.
Yeah. I'll admit I'm not really watching anything. Just I guess what I'm really watching is just how close the points battle has been for this regular season championship. Um, because you talk about Wendigo and Land being a couple points apart, but you and Lego are not far behind that. You're within 10 points, so
Yeah.
it's definitely like gonna be down between you four, maybe even a fifth driver coming into that conversation.
Maybe
Um,
Jax would have a shot. Maybe.
I would say Jax, yes, like he will definitely eventually be in that battle. I think he's playing catch up, now, because obviously he
He missed a
won, but
race.
he wasn't there, for 1 or 2 weeks. So, um,
Yeah.
he's certainly playing catch up now, but he has been very, very fast in every race that he has actually attended. He's been very fast. He's been earning stage points. He's been up in contention for the win. And I don't think really anybody saw him winning the race on Saturday. Coming down to that last lap, I didn't have him winning. That was certainly a surprise for me. But either way, he locked in. So that's the most important part. But I do think that I'm going to be watching just how close this battle gets for the regular season championship. Because as a reminder, the regular season champion jumps into the final four, I believe. So
Yes.
it's a major advantage because it's already one spot taken, and you don't have to worry about trying to hustle through to the next round or locking yourself in. You don't really have to worry or sweat about it. So taking that, all the way, winning that and taking yourself all the way to the final four really will take a huge weight off your shoulder. So I'm gonna be watching this battle very closely, I think. Um, but that's what I'm mainly watching.
Yeah, also I didn't realize, but Aiden and Bip missed a race somewhere, I guess. Because I see they only have 3 top tens. Craigus has 4. So yeah, maybe what I said isn't as accurate as what I thought. Um, man, Craigus just has not been getting stage points. I think that's his big thing is just getting stage points. So also like I don't know, just I feel like the mentality of that team is it's just like it's not the Craigus that I'm used to seeing. Like
Hmm.
I don't know. Something just seems off with him and that team this year. Like Um, I don't know. Like whenever you think of Craigus, like you think of the driver that goes up there and scratches and claws for stage points and wins. And I just don't see that from him this year. And I really hope that I do, because I would love to see him win a race and compete for the championship. But I don't know what's been going on with that team.
Yeah, I have to agree. It's very unfortunate that you know we're seeing him have the season that he's having. Last season, I was very impressed, just with how quick they were able to turn around their woes, and find victory lane and really have success at the end of the season. Um, but the way things are trending this season, things are looking very different. Um, and it sucks. It really does. But I'm hoping, that they at least can grab a few stage points, over these next couple weeks. But if they don't and they don't win either, I don't know. They could be out, like out. Because then it becomes too much of a gap to make up. Um, but I don't know. I really don't know. That whole situation with Craigus is really mind-boggling to me because their season starting off kind of how it started last season, but you know at some point they were earning more stage points than they are now, and they were still below the cutoff line, but it wasn't a conversation. We really didn't have confidence questions in that team, but I'm having confidence questions just because during the race, where do you see Craigus at the front? Um, if you look at this dude's laps led, he has 41 laps led. So, or he has 5 laps led. Sorry, I was looking
I
at
was
the
about
wrong
to
guy.
say,
Yeah, I was looking at the wrong guy. Sorry. Um, he has 5 laps led, and that's the lowest out of anybody in that field. Like I don't know. I really am having a tough time trying to figure out what that team needs to do better. Um, but they certainly need to make some different calls. Whether it's staying out to try and earn some stage points or being more aggressive. Like it just doesn't seem like they're pushing the issue as much this season. Um, and that's worrying for me because I don't think that gets you a win. He has one top five, you know, um, and that's not going to cut it to make it in. And I'm sure probably Land will be having some internal discussions, as a team to try and figure out what to do to get him in. Um, with Fadio out, it makes it a little easier to put all 3 cars into the playoffs. But there needs to be something different. There needs to be different decisions that are made during the race. There needs to be some sort of kind of different approach to the race week in and week out. But um, that's kind of all I'll say on the topic.
yeah, I fully agree.
Let's move on. We're cutting close on an hour here, so we have got to talk about this weekend coming up, as well as the All Star race coming up as well. So the throwback race is going to be this weekend at Darlington Raceway, going through just the race breakdown for the Cup race. Let me find it here. Give me 1 second. So on Wednesday, they're going to be having an open practice session at 6:30 for the drivers to join in and get a feel for the track. Um, you know, this is not going to kind of race like normal Darlington. Um, it's going to be a little different for our cars at least. So, people will have to get used to that in the draft as well as running on their own. Um, there will be a pre-race meeting on Saturday to kick off the weekend's events at 6:50, and then practice will kick off at 7, qualifying at 7:15, and the race will start around 7:30. So keep in mind of all of those times this weekend. The laps are going to be 90 laps. Stages are 25, 25, and 40. Shorter first and second stage, a little bit of a longer final stage. So I'll be interested to see how that plays out for some of these drivers. Um, and then I'll talk about the All Star race now as well. So we can kind of talk about both races at the same time. So the All Star race will take place on Friday. So uh, this will be before the Cup race on Saturday. So the All Star race will run on Friday. Practice at 6:30. Qualifying for the Open race, or the Open, yeah, the Open race will be at 6:45, and then the Open will be 50 laps at 7 o'clock. No stages. And then the main event will start right after. Estimated time is at 7:45, and that'll be 125 laps with stages at 40, 40, and 45. Um, Currently, right now for the All Star race, there's a couple drivers that are checked, a couple drivers that are still in the question mark kind of zone. Um, and For Darlington, there's about 10 or 11 drivers checked off. So a good amount of drivers expected to be hitting the track at Darlington. But let's dive into the All Star race first, and we'll kind of move on as the weekend goes on. So we'll start with the All Star race, and then we'll go with Darlington. But Laner, you ran some test laps. You told me. Kind of tell me what you're expecting to see based off of what you ran, and how you think the track will perform in our first visit there.
Um, well, Bowman Gray is a lot bigger than the Coliseum for anybody that raced at that. So, if I'm being honest, I still think it's going to be absolutely insane. I still think it's going to be a shit show. So, rest assured, there will still be a lot of wrecks. But I think there will be a little bit more room to work around than there was with the Coliseum. So I'm hoping maybe we can have a good racing product out there. Uh, but I don't know. With the track that short, it's gonna be messy and it's gonna be chaos. So you know,
Yeah,
yeah. I don't even know what to expect.
I agree. I don't think it's gonna run like an LA race, but I think it's gonna be pretty close, just with kind of you know the way that the track is gonna be set up. Obviously, you said it's a little bigger, a little wider, but there's still gonna be more braking than acceleration. And that is something that we saw at LA. Barely any acceleration, more braking than anything. Um,
Yeah.
so that'll be something to watch for. Um, there will probably be wrecks, probably be frustration, but that naturally happens in real life at that track. There is a lot of frustration, a lot of short track tempers, but I think just something to keep in mind too, that it is the All Star race. It's not for points, and it's not a serious race. So uh, try to keep that in mind, as you guys are racing this weekend. Um, but there will still obviously probably be some frustrations. But uh, yeah, I'm not really sure what to watch for specifically, just because we've never been there. But
Well,
um,
I mean, there is 1,000 Robux on the line, so
are you actually giving out 1,000 Robux this time,
well,
or
Aiden is. He gave it to me. I won it last time. I can confirm. I did get the money. I can
okay?
confirm.
I'm
So
still waiting on
there will
mine.
be a
I
thousand
never got mine.
Robux.
Yeah, I never
Man,
got
you
mine.
you won it. You won it way back whenever we were broke and we didn't give out money.
Yeah, those were some tough times, but it's okay. I forgive you guys. Um, but all right. Anyways, let's move to Darlington. So obviously, there's gonna be it's gonna be a long race. I think the best way to judge this race is off of the previous time that we were there, the championship race. I'm not sure if we visited that track last season, but I think the package or the cars were a little bit different. But um, uh, you know, I will be interested to see the strategy because I do think strategy will come into play this weekend. If you know if a full field is in play, I'm not so sure. But if there's only a couple cars that end up being on track this weekend, then I fully anticipate there to be some sort of strategy. Uh, I think at least with uh, the last time that we ran there, or that I can remember with the championship four drivers, you know, the, the strategy was a little easier to play into just because it got spread out very easily. But um, yeah, I'm not really sure. I think with a full field though, it'll be very hard to tell. Um, but yeah, that'll be something I'm watching for.
Yeah, I don't know how Darlington will be with the reduced draft. It's always been a really frustrating track because it's already really narrow and there's only one way to get around that track. There's really no good way to pass cars there, unless you're using the bumper. So I think it could be a frustrating race. Um, it always is whenever we go to Darlington, but yeah, I don't really know what to expect. Hopefully, the reduced draft kind of spreads things out a little bit, and hopefully that'll make for some more passing opportunities.
Yeah, I hope so. Um, Darlington's always very exciting when we go there. The only thing that sucks is like you can't run the top like it's intended to be run. You really have to force yourself to the bottom of the track. Um, but the fun part is you're still able to make some passes around there. And it is certainly doable to make up track position, make up time. So I always found that fun about this track, and just the type of racing it produces, I think, is very entertaining to watch. So I will be looking forward to that this weekend. But um, I'm not really sure. Besides that, I guess what to watch for. I think there will be the usual suspects up there. Um, Obviously, we're now down a driver, so I wonder how that will play an effect to it. Fadio has been very fast, and I would have expected to see him up front again this weekend. Um, but with that out of the equation, I don't know what we should expect to see. But um, yeah, I don't know if you're looking at any specific drivers to be up front, but um, uh, what are you
Uh,
watching for?
I mean, honestly, I think Darlington will be a track where you will see the veterans do the best. Honestly, so I would really expect like myself, Lan, Lego, and Craigus to be contenders. Just because Darlington is such a technical track, and us four, to my knowledge, have the most track time at Darlington. Um, Me, Craigus, and Land obviously competed in the championship there with you in row muscle, and we went there last year too.
Mhm.
So yeah, I would expect us four to probably be up front, but it wouldn't surprise me if Wendigo or Aiden or any of those guys find their way to the front either.
Yeah,
But I
I
also like I don't know how much with the way Darlington races and you really kind of have to force yourself into positions. I don't know how much Aiden and Wendigo and Jax and BIP are really going to force the issue since they already have wins. Like, I don't really know if I see any of them like using their bumper to make passes, which is kind of necessary at Darlington. So I just feel like the ones who need the wins are probably going to be the ones who find their way to the front.
Yeah, and I feel like Darlington too is also a track you can be aggressive at. You can really push the issue. Um, turns 1 and 2 are kind of like normal Darlington, but turns 3 and 4 are, you really have to nail that turn down to not screw it up. And there will definitely be some Darlington stripes put down this weekend for sure, in those two turns. But um, yeah, I'm not sure. I think we'll see the usual prospects up there though. I think they'll be a little more aggressive to find victory lane this weekend.
I agree. Yeah.
Okay. Well, with that out of the way, let's move into our rate the race for Walt Disney, and then we will do our race picks for both events, and we will wrap up from there. Um, for our rate the race, I'll start. I'm going to give Walt Disney a 75, um, similar to what I gave Auto Club. I think it is what I gave Auto Club. Um, I think just it was a good race to watch. The finish, I know was a little controversial and upset some people, but I think that aside, the race was good. And I felt like Disney was a good track for our cars to put on because it was another very technical track, but I think that um, drivers were able to have fun with it. Every turn was a little different, and there was really a lot of opportunity to make up some passes and uh, you know um, really make the race entertaining. Um, but I will give it a 75.
Yeah. I guess I'll probably give it like a 73. I didn't want to give it the same score as you, but I'm kind of on the same page. Um, I thought it was it was okay. I mean, there really wasn't that many passing opportunities. Um, the only way to really pass was to either hope somebody else made a mistake or kind of force the issues. So um, it was a decent race. I don't know. I felt like last season's race was a lot better at Disney, so I was kind of disappointed. Um, because I really had high expectations after last season's race. And I know we ran a different package this season and the reduced draft, and there were a lot of factors that went into that. But regardless, I was still a little bit disappointed with it.
Okay, all right. Let's do our race picks now then. With that out of the way, Laner, do you want to start or should I start?
I guess I can go.
All right.
Um, oh goodness, got a lot of pressure. Um, okay. Um, I haven't really even thought about it. I'll go with land. I was really thinking about picking Krakus for a second, and I know that would have sounded really crazy, but I think, like I said earlier, I think that those five drivers that need to win are going to run up front. So really, it could be any of those five, and it wouldn't surprise me. But I think Land has been really close lately, and I think this is finally the week that he does it.
Okay. Well, I picked the land last week, I believe. Um, and I don't, I, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm not gonna pick him this week. Um, I think he will be up front, and hopefully he does not get wrecked at the end. But I think that the race will have a very different outcome. I think the one, I guess like winner a week, or like how there's been every new winner. a winner a week. I think that comes to an end this week. I think Wendigo is going to win um, this weekend again, um, or he'll win his second race technically. But um, I think that, you know, when I think about Darlington and when I think about Wendigo's driving style, Wendigo is very technical in his driving style, and I think that this is a track that suits him. So I feel really good about my pick, um, and I hope he will do me justice. um, you know, I think with everything going on with the team this week, he needs a bit of a bounce back. Um, and there will be a lot of eyes on him and Bip, kind of racing in a different perspective now that the team is back, um, but they're shutting down. It's a different outlook at the end of the day. So I think that I feel good about Wendigo. But we'll have to see how things turn out. It's going to be very interesting to see.
I agree.
Um, okay. Well, if we've got nothing else, I think we'll wrap up here. We went a little over um, our normal kind of hour mark, but all good here. Again, want to thank you guys for tuning in tonight. Sorry I didn't bring as much energy as I usually bring. It is finals week, unfortunately, so it is just hell on earth right now for me and whoever else may be in college. So to anybody who's in college, good luck on your finals and wrapping up the semester. Um, but at least from us, we want to thank you guys again for tuning in tonight. Reminder of this weekend's schedule ahead, just as a reminder of the timings and the laps. So first on Friday we'll have the All Star race, and practice will kick off at 6:30. The open for open cars will be at 6:45. While qualifying for the open cars, the open race will take place at 7, and that will be 50 laps, no stages. The main event will follow right after at 7:45, which is an estimated time, but likely what it'll be at. Time laps go very fast there, so it will be a very fast race. If most of it is not under caution, but the main event will be 125 laps. Stages are 40, 40, and 45. And the winner of that race will have a lot of bragging rights and a lot of Robux to spend, courtesy of Aiden. But then we move into Saturday, where we'll move to Darlington. Um, Reminder that there will be an open practice session this Wednesday, December 11th, at 6:30, to help some drivers get a feel for the track and the draft. And then Saturday, the events will kick off at 6:50 with the pre-race meeting, practice at 7, qualifying at 7:15, and the race will kick off around 7:30. The stages are 25, 25, and 40 with a total lap of 90 or total laps of 90. So reminder to tune in this weekend as the drivers hit um, the Lady in Black. They're going to lay down some fast laps, but lay down a lot of Darlington stripes. Um, we'll have to see what happens. We've got our race picks down. We'll have to see if they come through. But thank you guys again for tuning in to another episode of the Money Stop, and we will see you all next week. Right back here for another episode.
See you guys.
Good night, everybody.